Hello, everyone. My name is Blake Stanley. I am a data analyst full time, and for this project, I wanted to analyze a little bit of stock market data because in my free time, I like to day trade, and I felt that there's a correlation between the stock market and data behind the scenes that can help predict future expectations. So my goal is to try to analyze a little bit of price movement, percentage movement, a little bit of volume, see what was out there that could possibly point us in the right direction as far as what's going to happen the following day. So um, what I'm using for my data source was every evening I would go onto barchart.com, and once the market closed at 8 p.m., I'd be able to pull the stock data for the most active um, symbols for the day based on daily volume. So I'd go over at 8 p.m., pull that data, and then be able to load it into Tableau. And a couple of the questions I just wanted to try to analyze throughout this process for the class was which attributes would mimic each other, and does growth from the data day to day signal a trend in a particular stock? And then is there any data that correlates that will predict movement the following day? So those are the three questions that I was going to look into and find out um, what analysis can we start predicting with. So let's take a look into the data sets that I gathered. And so for our second assignment, we had the data dictionary, and here I broke down symbol, I broke down the name, um, the last price that was changed, the amount the price changed, the percent change, and then the high and low. This is the highest price for the day, the lowest price for the day, and then the volume, which would be the total volume, and then the time or the date that it was reported. And then gave you some examples of each. And what I realized after some feedback is I needed a hierarchy. And so I got to thinking, like, how do I make a hierarchy out of this? That was like a challenging thing, is like, what's really able to break down with stock market data? And I got to thinking about this symbol right here, these shorthand tickers. Was there a play between a three digit, 4 digit, 5 digit symbol, and would those have a difference? And they actually do. So let's move over to my Tableau story and see the presentation, and I can explain what the hierarchy is between an exchange and the symbol. So looking over at the Tableau, the symbols that have 4 are going to be, I want to say it's the, I need to slide over just a little bit just to double check. These are going to be your NASDAQ. So any of the exchanges with 4 or more are your NASDAQ, and then anything with 1, 2, or 3 is your New York Stock Exchange and the American Stock Exchange. So that was pretty interesting to find out, and we'll go over this graph here in a little bit. But let's start off with what got me started in my analysis was looking at volume. So here was a visualization that I started, and I wanted to say for every symbol that I have, like say Apple right here, it had 71 million volume on the first day. And on the 6th day, 74, it stayed pretty consistent all the way through. But I want to be able to filter by volume, showing like a legend of which ones had like over 100 million or under 10 million. So Some of those were if I scrolled down here and just saw something that stood out in bright red, like say like clove right here. This one had a massive jump in volume, and I wanted to see if that would actually have any impact on the future of price and any percent change. So this will be one that we look into here in the future throughout this presentation. So after getting all this, I was like, okay, this is like a nice little, you can kind of see the price change between them, and the brighter red it got, the higher that volume was. So I also allowed you to be able to filter by days. So if you just wanted to see everything on the 6th and the 7th, you can see the price changes there, or all of them. Along with, if I only wanted to see stuff that had a 100 million volume or higher, this shows the graphs that had those. So if I quickly wanted to see like which ones are my top volume movers, I can quickly see those, or which ones had really low volume. So those particular days, I can see those. So the next steps, I wanted to see if I can go to a particular symbol. So like what we were saying, this is Apple. Seeing the movement from day to day, from the 1st through the 21st. I tried to pulling it every single evening at 8 p.m. and there's a couple times that I missed it throughout this class, but you can see even over like the weekends and stuff, price still gave you a nice little linear graph. So Apple was up in percent change, came down a little bit, and then one point we fell down to a 2% drop on the 18th, but then it quickly recovered on the 19th. And we'll see how some of these drops and quick recoveries play out in future charts. Right here is where I wanted to show the change in hierarchy. So showing total growth of cumulative stock, either high or low, for all these. So I can see which one had like the highest growth for all these combined for like the week or two that we looked at this data. And you can also see down here, these had the lowest. So overall cumulative growth, this got me looking into the overall exchange. So this chart I've really found helpful for whenever the total exchange in both the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ fell into a negative, the very next day it recovered. And so this was really important that I saw this, even when they both tanked pretty hard, like what we saw earlier on the 18th and then 19th at Rose and Apple. This did the same exact thing. It took a dive, then took off. But yeah, being able to track this and see when price falls and then be able to buy in, see it go up, that's what I was trying to be able to get a visualization and track to see if we had the next day movements, and we are able to see that there. Now, when we're able to see that, hey, we need to buy when this is low, now we need to know at what volume change is it a good time to buy. So right here is whenever volume spiked over 150% is when I gave the trigger to buy, whenever there was 150% growth in volume. So as I'm scrolling through here, like the 14th, this volume spiked hard. On the 14th, most of the market fell, and then it took off the next day. So it spiked up, and then I'd sell it off the next day. If I bought in here and sold it, I'd probably make money in EV. So at the overall chart, I had my 5 visualizations here, but ABVE, let's try to look at that real quick. You can see buying in here when it fell, spikes up the next day, and we probably make some money. I also made the visualizations where you can click into any of these and it will give you the total growth across the board. So learned a lot. This is a really cool tool. Lots of things you can do with it. The biggest challenge I had was some of these, if you put all, it would just give you a little bit too much data. So being able to look at like Apple, seeing it on the 18th fall and then jump up is pretty cool. So thank you guys. Really enjoyed this class, and hope you learned a little bit from this.